Check. Yeah, you need more.
First of all, thank you everyone for attending the Winter City Council meeting for Tuesday, February 20th, 2024. At this time, the City of Winter will implement roll call.
Councilman Clay.
Here.
Councilman Hockett.
Here.
Councilman Clunt. Absent. Councilman Schramm.
Here.
Councilman Schuyler.
Here.
Councilman Sprinkle.
If you would all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Council, having had time to review your packets, are there any conflicts of interest to disclose? Hearing and seeing none, Chair will move on to consent agenda. Having reviewed your packet, Council, do you have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Is there a second to this motion? Councilman Schuyler with the motion to approve. Councilman Sprinkle with the second. Floor is open to comment or question or point of information. Hearing and seeing none, Chair will call the question, which is approving the consent agenda as presented. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say nay. Ayes have it, and this motion carries. Council, having had time to review your packet, is there a motion on tonight's agenda?
Mr. Mayor, I believe I'd make a motion to approve.
Is there a second to this motion?
Second.
Councilman Clay with the motion, Councilman Hockett with the second. Floor is open to comment, question, or point of information.
Mr. Mayor, we would like to adjust the claims at the end of the meeting. Old Dutch Foods is not $43,884. It is $438.84. Please excuse the decimal.
Stuck key.
And that changes the bottom line to what number?
A lot less. I could get that number for you.
Let's get that while we're here.
So the claims themselves would be $114,034.57. I apologize, the one I have in front of me does not have your payroll on the top of it.
Any other comment or question, Council? Hearing none, Chair will call the question of approving the agenda as presented. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say nay. Ayes have it, and this motion carries. City of Winter will now move on to recognition of visitor and communications from the City of Winter. As with all city council meeting, there is a 10-minute window for people to address the city council. Is there any public input? Hearing and seeing none, city will move on to our first recognized guest this evening, Mrs. Susan Calhoun with the Boy Scout troop here in Winter, South Dakota, is our first recognized visitor tonight. First and
Thank
only
you.
Susan.
Thank you for having us here. I'm Susan Calhoun, and I am the committee chairperson for Troop 100. I also serve as the treasurer and as the popcorn kernel for our local troop. With me, I have Sandy Hausman, who is Merit Badge Counselor, and 3 of our scouts, Andrew Henderson, Matthew Brozic, and my son, Matthew Calhoun.
Excellent.
We approached the city with helping out with some of our financial struggles that we've had, and the city has said that they will provide us with some funds, and we're very appreciative of that. The things that we do as scouts for the city and for the community in general around here, we do service projects. Each scout is required 6 hours of community service to advance in rank, and there's several ranks of scouting. We also have Eagle Scout projects. Matthew Brozic just completed his project. He erected a sign for the Knights of Columbus by Clome on the way. So if you see that, you'll notice that. Justin Hausman did a sign for the Arrow Rod and Gun Club. And my son, Spencer, had his project recently, which was for the Ideal community. He did a directory for the cemetery. So we feel that we provide the city and community with a lot of worthwhile service hours. Our scouts have also participated in Feeding South Dakota as part of their service. The goal of scouting is really to instill skills and a core set of beliefs, and to raise leaders for our community and our nation. And we hope to use these funds to further this and keep scouting alive in winter. We recently had our 100 years of scouting, and we celebrated that out at the Historical Society. We turned 100 years on September 11th of 2023.
Wow.
And we would like to see scouting continue in this area. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Susan. Council? I would move to suspend the rules at this point and move to agenda item number 4 under new business. Having moved the agenda, is there a motion on item number 4?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to donate budgeted amount of $1,500 to the Winter Boy Scouts, Troop 100.
Is there a second to this motion?
I'll second that.
Councilman Clay with the motion, Councilman Schuyler with the second. Floor is open to comment, questions, or point of information. Of Mrs. Calhoun or anybody else.
Susan, you still do fundraisers, correct? I know you don't do the soup supper anymore because they just don't have enough kids and parents to help, but
We did a raffle recently, and that was quite successful. The winter businesses are very generous. They, by and far, donate nearly all of the prizes that were offered, and we had a very successful fundraiser. The thing with scouting, prices have went up so much, and our membership fees for a new scout are $117 per that first installment that year, and then we also pay recharter fees every year. The $117 is kind of prohibited to a lot of families, and we'd like to use some of these funds to help do a scholarship as an incentive to get more kids into scouting so that they wouldn't have to fund that whole $117 personally. And then we also had, for example, this past fall, we did a wonderful thing with the Cub Scouts where we invited the Cubs to come. We presented a program. The boys worked on safety with them, knife safety and first aid. And Dr. Henderson helped along with that. And we had stations for each boy. They worked on soap whittling, which is a good activity for the real little ones. And we worked on the oaths and laws of the Scouts and how they're different from Cubs to Boy Scouts. And we also had an airplane designing station. Then we treated all of those little Cubs to hot dogs and marshmallow roasts and setting up tents. And it was a good incentive to keep them in scouting and look what they might do when they become an actual Boy Scout.
How many boys you got in there?
In our troop, there are only 4 boys right now, currently.
That has dropped substantial then. 'Cause I know, like, maybe Chandra, you could answer this. The city pays the utilities on that cabin, right?
The city does.
Yeah, that's what I thought. That was part of the agreement when we leased that, because I was scoutmaster at that time. It's the reason I know. And there was a lease agreement on, 99-year lease on
That is
the lot, or the location. And I believed that the city was picking up the utility bill.
Yeah, so we pay our recharter fees. We have a trailer license on the scouting trailer. We have the recharter fees, and we have a personal liability insurance that we pay on each scout through those recharter fees too that they've added on. For example, on just these 4 boys and our volunteers, our recharter fees were $880 that we just paid in January. And then there's also camping, which we haven't went to for the past several summers, mainly because it is cost prohibitive too. For a single boy to go to Boy Scout camp for a week, it costs around $400. So these funds would go hopefully to help sponsor some of those fees too.
So do you have a number of younger boys that will be coming Boy Scouts in the near future?
You know, we have these 3 boys here. We had a recent addition this past fall of Jackson Frederick. He's a young youth from the Clome area, and so he has joined our troop. But I do not believe there are any Webelos that are ready to bridge up, but there are a whole lot of other younger scouts. And I think the number in the pack is around 35. So we do have the potential for growth in the future. But right now we are struggling to keep the troop alive. And we actively recruit as much as we can. We try to go out and make ourselves visible to the community. We reach out in a fall recruitment and have flyers at the school. And we did a spring recruitment last year as well. And we were at the summer nights and did a booth there. And we had our sign-up sheets available at the Labor Day celebration. But unfortunately, a lot of our youth have so many other activities that they are involved in. And with the cost of $117 a kid, they don't always choose scouting first.
I have a question. So, if I remember correctly, I believe it was indicated to us, your need for the assistance, and there is a need, of course, but was for insurance premiums? And
Insurance.
did your fundraisers cover the insurance premium? That's why you're looking at this for scholarships, partial scholarships then, or that's where I was just a little off?
Yes, and also there is a stipulation, because we do get the land provided by the city, the stipulation is that we do not, that we carry insurance ourselves on the cabin. We have to find the funding for the insurance from our own funds on that. We cannot use city funds for that. This would not be earmarked in any way for it. That is a stipulation in the contract. Our insurance, we split it with the Cub Scouts. It was over $900 last July for our half. The total was, I think it was, I don't have the figures here, I provided them to the city, but I think it was $1,805 for the total insurance. And we looked into trying to get a cheaper policy, and because of the wood structure and such, we couldn't.
Thank you.
Yes.
Before I take a roll call vote, Mrs. Hausman, would you like to speak to the council?
I think that Susan pretty much covered what I was thinking as far as, breaking down the cost a little,
Okay.
a little bit. Our recharter, the only thing that she didn't really touch on was the popcorn sales. And we only get a 30% kickback of the total amount of what we sell. And that didn't even cover the cost of the recharter. And the recharter is yearly, and we've just, over the years, even just in the years that my son has been, my son started out he was from first grade all the way through. But even just as he was a scout, we just kept seeing the recharter fees got more expensive, camp got more expensive, insurance got more expensive. And when you only have four to five scouts that we've had, because both Justin and Spencer are done now, they're considered alumni because they earned their Eagle. It's really hard to, keep up with the demand of just paying for that recharter and the insurance. And we haven't had money to go do, fun things, or to offer people some assistance. Thank you.
You're welcome. Council, any other questions? Hearing none, at this time, Chair will go ahead and call the question. The question is to approve the donation of $1,500 to the Winter Boy Scouts. All in favor, would you please say aye?
Aye.
All opposed, please say nay. Ayes have it, this motion will carry 5-0.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. You're welcome to stay or welcome to go. At this time, Chair will suspend the rules and move back to recognition of visitors and communications. This will conclude our visitor schedule for the evening. There is one public communication from the HR department on new hires.
There was one new hire in the previous 3 weeks. That was Casey Mance she was hired at 2093 in the 911 Communications Department. Full-time benefits with 6-month probation.
The last name again, please.
I'll just spell the whole thing because it's Casey is K-A-Y-C-E-E. Mance is M-A-N-C-E. That's why I spelled it.
M-A-N-C-E,
Yes,
Mance.
yes.
Okay.
Well, I didn't have that.
I heard man,
Oh.
M-A-N-N. Okay,
apologies.
good enough, thank you.
That will conclude recognition of visitors and communications for the City of Winter. City of Winter will now move on to department reports. Tonight, we start department reports with Public Works Director Troy Kruger.
Good evening. Start with water and sewer tonight. All the departments went through MSHA training last week. MSHA is a training that we do, helps us out on our insurance, but it's a safety, trenching, driving, first aid, all that good stuff. Monthly meter readings, monthly water samples, plow and snow removal, jetted sewer Trip Avenue. Worked on the West Wellfield generator. They had a programming fault out there on the PLC. The generator did not start up. Fixed water hydrants on Spruce Court. We had a traffic accident over there, ran into a fire hydrant. Fixed leak on Oak Street, fixed a leak on 161 Washington Street. Maintenance work at Lagoons. Radios and meters installed to date, 702. Streets and sanitation, MSHA training. All of the 20-mile-an-hour signs have been removed from the city of Winter. Filling potholes, working on the landfill. We had to order some street signs for the highway after the construction project. Those street signs came in, so we got those put up. Plowed and hauled snow, maintenance work, and garbage and recycling center. Parks and Cemetery, MSHA training. They had purchased a batting cage for Bailey's Park. They set the poles for that last week. Snow removal. Working on their equipment, summer equipment. Brought in a couple pieces of playground equipment, and they're painting those. We had several funerals in the last couple weeks. Light Department, MSHA training, meter work and deployment. We also had a big firmware update that we're working on right now. Pushing out new firmware to all the meter reading equipment. Cleaned up around the plant, changed out poles, replaced bad street lights, and those guys have had several power outages in the last couple weeks. Electrical department, we had an outage down at the shop, and our backup generator did not start up, and it ran the batteries dead on our SCADA equipment and the fuel system, and it changed the IP address on it, so it took a little figuring out to get that done. We got that back up and running. Ray is working on the same firmware deal that we have for the current meters that are out in already deployed. We have a inventory of meters, and those meters will also have to have that firmware put on them. So he's working on a meter table that we can plug those meters in and push that firmware out to them. Wiring for a new generator for the water department's camera trailer locates, and we had some wiring issues at our North Quonset the other night when we were moving snow. We had some sparks flying. Street Supervisor Kelly Duffy and myself, we attended last week the South Dakota, our SDSU LTAP conference. Some of the seminars we attended were chip sealing, micro sealing, continuous maintenance for asphalt, cold weather paving, crack sealing and mastic sealing, FDR, which is a full depth reclamation. That's the process we use down by the North Shop to repair that haul road. And there's some new practices out there for culvert repair. We do have some issues with some culverts in the city. Some of the metal culverts that we have are starting to wear out, and they're starting to get holes in them and rust out, so there are some options to reline those. And the areas of concern in winter, the reason we attended the conference was we've got to figure out something to do on 6th Street in South County. Those two streets were constructed with no rebar in them, and the streets are cracking up pretty bad now, and they're starting to shift, and so we've got some pretty bad offsets in those streets. So we're looking at maybe doing some mastic repairs on those to prolong the life of those two streets. And then just crack sealing and chip sealing and wind to crack seal and wind to chip seal these new asphalt streets that we're putting down. The LTAP and state of South Dakota DOT are doing several projects right now. They're using millings, the same millings that we're taking off our city streets, and they're having some pretty interesting results with those. And they're actually constructing brand-new streets with that material. So they've done a couple of test projects around the state. One of them just happens to be pretty close to Winter here, over by Witten. They did a 16-mile stretch of road over there. And so that was a pretty interesting seminar that they gave on that and the process of doing that. And there was actually no hot mix used in that process whatsoever. It was all millings, and it was all rejuvenating oils and binders that they put in that, and then they compact it, and they topped half that project off with a micro seal and half with a double chip seal. And so this could be something that the city could look at in the future. It would be a cost savings to the current practice that we're using of milling and overlaying, or another application for it would be some of the streets around town, East 7th Street, where there's no gutter. That would be a really good application for that, this deal. Jackson Street, where we have a double chip seal just over top of some millings over there. This process with the compaction and the double chip seal over top gives you a product that ends up really similar to hot mix asphalt. And so they're kind of be interesting to, as they monitor those projects with our pilot millings that we're accumulating, this could be something that the city probably really needs to look into in the future. So, any questions? Thank you.
Yes, I do have questions. I was just waiting to be acknowledged by the mayor.
Councilman Clay?
So, this milling project you're talking about, that was on the highway to Witten or in town?
It's a highway that runs, I'm not sure. Highway 59, does that sound right? I'm
I
not
don't
real
know.
familiar. I'm not, 53? Does it run north
Yeah.
out of Witten and heads?
It's going to Witten, the White River 50.
Yeah, it's like 16 miles over
No,
there.
53.
Goes Wood to Vivian.
They oiled that? That's a gravel road. They
Not
put it on
anymore.
that road. Huh.
It's not.
Anyway,
That's
it's gonna see some
53.
truck.
Yeah,
They
it's-
just did a bunch of dirt work on not too long ago, but I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's not.
But it's gonna see truck traffic.
Yeah.
That's what I was driving at.
Yep.
Where they put it's gonna see truck traffic to see if it holds up.
So that's what they're looking at with these processes is you're getting the same product as an actual hot mix street, and you got the same compaction and the same density to them, and
Yeah.
they're looking at, they're doing the projects with some of these highways right now that see a lot of the truck traffic, the heavier traffic, so.
I'll have to go check that one out. Also, I have a statement I want to make, and I've made this statement before about our sanitation department out there. I went out there because we'd had a comment here in our council meeting that the smell of the flies were horrible. And I went on a recycling day when the public comes through, and it wasn't bad at all. So I just randomly stopped out last week on a trash day. And Travis wasn't there, it was the other gentleman that works there was loading with the Mini X. Not bad. You guys are doing a good job. There's garbage all over the floor. They're loading it up, packing it down. And I'm standing, I don't know, from me to you to the garbage. Well, it wasn't bad. Doing a good job. That's all I gotta say. Wasn't bad. Granted, my sniffer may not work like the ladies quite as well, but it was really impressive. Good job.
They are using the masking agents out there, so
Yeah.
there is a perfume to the air, and then they also do a hot cleanup with a pressure washer every night, so they are doing a good job, thank you.
Any other questions, council? Thanks, Troy. Our next department report comes from the Finance Office. Finance Officer Chandra Phillips. On March 4th.
I'll let her off the hook today. So you've probably noticed Holly is here. She is our Deputy Finance Officer for the City of Winter, and she will ultimately be in charge for a whole week in March while I'm gone. I'll be gone March 1st through the 8th. I'm actually going down to Nashville for a South Dakota Public Assurance Alliance conference that's down there, learning about insurance pooling, insurance, and there are some seminars I plan to attend that are also about how to protect your city from certain liability suits and different things like that. So excited to go learn about insurance. That's what everyone says, right? And also to learn better ways to help protect our city as well. So I will be available by phone if anyone needs anything, but ultimately Holly will be in charge of the minutes and getting things out to you guys too. So payroll went well today. The new system is working. They started at 8 o'clock this morning, and she had all the emails out to employees by noon today. So it went very well. We're excited about that. There's still a few little kinks to work out, but ultimately we're getting those figured out as we go along, and I'm very excited. There was
What was
very
the
few
time
comments.
savings over the old system?
Honestly, I would love to give you an exact answer, but I can't tell you 100% that she worked on it the entire time this morning, so I can't tell you that. I would tell you that in previous weeks before this, she would have been working on it that entire 4 hours. I don't know that she was working on it that entire 4 hours today. We don't even start it on it actually in our office until after 9 a.m. So it was 9 that she started, so 3 hours total is what it took her. So definitely saved a few hours. Going through the personnel policy book and getting some of our personnel policies up to date, also getting some changes in there due to some things that we found over the years that aren't working or will work better for us. So kind of doing a thorough investigation of our personnel policy book. Also because personnel hasn't met for a couple months really, so we figured they needed something else to do. You're welcome. I sent an email out to you last week, our District 4 meeting. Not to be confused with District 3, who's our grant writers, but District 4 is our district that we belong to in the state of South Dakota with SDML. And they are having their annual meeting to give you a legislative update on Thursday, March 21st in Gregory at the Homesteader. You are welcome to come. We would love to have you come. But just let me know ahead of time so that we can give them a head count for how many will come for the meal. Mayor Cerny, I'm sure, will be the life of the party over there, so please come. Also, one thing that we found in reviewing some payroll records is somehow the mayor's payroll was being taken out of finance for the last year and a half rather than mayor and council, so we gave mayor and council a break out of your department. Finance paid for it, but it has been fixed for the 2024 year. I'm not asking to go back and fix anything. It doesn't matter. Our years are closed out for 22 and 24, or excuse me, 22 and 23. What happened is when we went live with the new system in 22, a number got transposed. Instead of 21, it became 12, and when it got transposed, it was paid out that incorrectly. So just wanted to let folks know. And then finally, the January financial statement. We had some issues in Encode. Ultimately, when I moved the money out of ARPA into our regular checking account, it disappeared into the World Wide Web. And so I wasn't comfortable saying that $500,000 was gone, because it wasn't. It was just out in the web space. But we were able to get that fixed today. So tomorrow we will go through the formalities of closing out. Holly's already done the majority of her side. We just have to clear the checks and verify that on our end. But ultimately, you should have the January financial statement by end of day tomorrow, and then it'll be on the agenda for you to approve on March 4th. So I apologize for that. It took a month and a half for them to tell me that what I thought was wrong was wrong. So now we got it fixed. Any questions?
Council, any questions for the finance?
What time is that meeting at the Homesteader on March 21?
I believe it is at 6 p.m., but I will verify that again for you.
I think we got,
Thank you. Huh?
I think we got an email on it.
I don't get all the emails she sends. I have an incognito email account, evidently.
There is something going on with the emails, I believe. So they're getting sent from my email to you, but I think they might be going out into the web space and essentially be sent to your spams. So if you don't receive something from me daily, you can probably assume that there's something wrong, because I try to send out minutes daily or some type of information daily, so. That it?
You,
Our next department report comes from Public Safety Commissioner Justin Day.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. We will go ahead and start with the Winter Police Department. Officer Fitzgerald Once he is in currently week 12 of training up at the Law Enforcement Training Academy. Once he gets through this week, he will be in his final week, and then graduation will be on March 1st. We did have TASER training on February 5th, which Chris Aid put on that class, as this is a yearly mandatory training for the police department. And Feeding South Dakota was held in February on the 2nd. We did that one up at the high school due to conditions with the snow and everything. So the next one will be on March 1st. We're looking like we may have snow next week, so not really sure if it's going to be down at the 4-H center or if it will be back up at the high school yet. Moving on to the 911 PSAP. Over 2,200 incidents were entered into CAD. Of those, 864 were 911 calls, and then a little over 4,400 were administrative calls. We did have 2 new hires. Chandra mentioned one with Casey. The other one is Summer. She's been there for 1 week now. And then Kenzie will be attending the 911 basic certification course starting next week. So then she will be certified after that 2-week course. Next page is the calls that the Winter Police Department went on from January 15th to February 18th. There was a total of 432, and you guys can kind of look through there. This gives a pretty good snapshot of what the officers have been dealing with. You know, when we see assaults in progress, we had 2 in that time frame, assault not in progress, different domestics, whether it was not violent, simple assault, suicide attempts and threats. So there's a lot of good information on this when we kind of start looking at it to kind of get a snapshot of the community and what the officers are responding to.
Justin, what is Signal 2?
Signal 2 is an accident, no injury. Signal 1 is an accident with injury. Then the next page is the PSAP as a whole. That is for all the different counties that we dispatch for, and as you see there, that was just a little over 2,200 calls for all of the counties. Then switching over to the jail, today's population is 156. Our month average so far for February is 164, and our average for the year at this point is 165. In that last month period, we have processed in 173, and 179 were released, and then there were 95 inmate movements in that time frame. Monthly provider visits, there was only 1 this last month, but 17 of the inmates were seen. And then you see with the mental health visits, that was at 25. We do continue to see that number hover around there, as that is something that we're dealing with much more often now, is the kind of mental health component with a lot of the individuals that are coming into the facility. Billing for the month of January, prisoner days was $412,636. Transports brought in $11,741. And then we did attend a career fair up at Western Dakota on February 7th. And then there is another one that they will be attending March 27th. That will be our third either intern or career fair that we have attended, trying to go with recruitment. This one up at Western Dakota was very informative. We got a chance to meet the head of the law enforcement training program up there. We got to talk to their scholarship guy. So he gave us a lot of good information. And then we really just kind of pushed the city of Winter, because we found out we went on a Thursday or on a Wednesday, and our demographic is there primarily on Tuesday and Thursday. So we just took the opportunity to kind of push Winter as a whole. But we did get some good feedback from those that did show up for the law enforcement. It was kind of us, collective as the whole, with 911, the jail, and the police department, and then Rapid City PD was up there, as well as Pennington County, and Pennington County 911 was there as well. We did complete leadership interviews last week for the open sergeant position as well as the open corporal position, and then Jeff will be making offers this week on who got those. And then MedAid instructor Rehack had his first MedAid student. They will complete their final exam this month. And then Taser instructor Volber held 2 classes last week. One was a recertification class, and then the other one was for new certification with some of the new employees. They are now currently up to date on their cert in the Taser. Any questions? Yes.
I just have one just to satisfy me. Do we send 2 officers to every domestic call?
Yes. Yeah, when there's a domestic call or a fight in progress, kind of everybody starts. I can't say that's 100%, because if somebody is dealing with an assault in progress over here and then somebody gets a domestic call over here, if something overlaps right there, you got to finish up and then get moving, but yeah.
Your policy in general is 2 to those?
Yeah, everybody who's on duty is going to respond to whatever that call is, especially if it is a call involving violence.
Okay.
Yep.
Other questions, council?
Yeah.
Yes.
Statement of the question. Justin, I've told you previously on the career fair, good job, thank you. Just want to say it publicly, good job, thank you. I know there's more than just you, Winter, planning on going. So we've been talking about that for a long time, like seeing that.
Yep.
And then for my question, how many Taser instructors do we have?
1 in the police department and 1 in corrections.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Other questions, council? Thank you, Justin.
Thank you.
Our final report tonight comes from Code Enforcement Officer Daniel Furness. I didn't catch that till just now.
Thank you. So in this period, I've reissued 2 building permits, sent off a few of our problem properties over to Paul for further action, and sent out 88 courtesy notices.
Are you opening it up to questions at this time?
Yeah.
That was short and sweet. Council? Questions for Code Enforcement Planning and Zoning Director Dan Furness?
You probably can't speak to the end of these individual properties listed on this list, can you?
No.
There's just one that I want to comment on, but that's okay.
Good report, clean report.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Council and public, that will conclude department reports for the city of Winter. We now move on to bid openings. This afternoon at 1 p.m. on February 20th, there were 3 bid openings. And present at the bid openings were Public Works Director Troy Kruger, City Finance Officer Chandra Phillips. Also attending the meeting were Bachman Construction, Rexwinkle Concrete, and Rosebud Concrete. The first bid item today was on scrap transformers. There were no bids received, and per South Dakota Code of Law, 5-18A-5 subsection 9, if after advertising for bids, no firm bids are received, the purchasing agency may negotiate a contract for the purchase of the supplies, services, or public improvement projects at the most advantageous price if the specifications of the original bid are met. That has opened up the Public Works Director and Electrical Superintendent to negotiate the best price.
Question for the term. Is this the right 5-18A-5, where it's talking about purchasing. We're not actually purchasing, we're selling.
The stated provision there and the thought process behind it applies both ways.
Okay, thank you.
The second bid opening today was for the 2024 mill and overlay project. There was one bid received. It was from Bituminous Paving Incorporated. The bid amounts were $2.25 a square yard milled and $158 a ton of asphalt for installation, the paving process. It is the recommendation of Public Works Director Kruger to award the bid to Bituminous Paving. Our final bid opening today was the 2024 curb and gutter bid. It looks like we received several bids. Rexwinkle Concrete submitted a bid of a 36-inch type B curb and gutter per linear foot cost of $58.50. 6-foot valley gutters per square yard at $125, I believe per square foot. Square yard, excuse me, square yard, sure. Driveway approaches per square yard at $120. The next bid received was from Daryl Bachman Construction. The 36-inch type B curb and gutter per linear foot was $52. 6-foot valley gutters per square yard was $110. Driveway approaches per square yard was $92. Rosebud Concrete, the third bidder, submitted a bid. The bid was 36-inch type B curb and gutter per linear foot, $66.25.
6.6?
Yep, 60.
I'm sorry.
$66.25.
Get in that sheet. Oh, we have these, have we?
Yeah, that's right.
Yes.
The 6-foot valley gutters per square yard came in a bid of $132.25. And driveway approaches per square yard was $119.05. It was the recommendation of Public Works Director Troy Kruger to award the bid to Daryl Bachman Construction. That concluded our bid openings for the City of Winter on February 20th's agenda. There are no public hearings for this council meeting. There are no Board of Adjustments. City of Winter will move on to old business. We will consider 2 items tonight under old business. Item number 1, council, I ask if you have a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the jail contract addendum with Millette County for guard hours.
Is there a second to this motion?
I'll second that.
Councilman Hockett with the motion, Councilman Schuyler with the second. Floor is open to comment, question, or point of information. Hearing none, Chair will call the question by a roll call vote. The question being to approve the jail contract addendum with Millette County for guard hours. Councilman Hockett,
Aye.
Councilman Sprinkle,
Aye.
Councilman Schuyler,
Aye.
Councilman Clay,
Yes.
and Councilman Schramm.
Aye.
Ayes have it, and this motion will carry. Item number 2, council, do you have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the agreement with Mid-Dakota Equipment for the purchase of a dryer in the amount of $4,532 in full payment in advance and have the mayor sign all documentation.
Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second that.
Councilman Hockett with the motion, Councilman Sprinkle with the second. The floor is open to comment, question, or point of information. Hearing none, Chair will call the question, which is to approve the agreement with Mid-Dakota Equipment.
We go.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilman Schramm, the floor is
I
yours.
have a little consternation with this. We got a bid from a company to sell us a dryer at $4,500, which happened to be lower price than any other dryer that was bid of the 5. And yet, they're gonna charge us $29 less than $2,000 to get it here. And when we look at everything from the other bidders, they're not actually the lowest bidder of the dryer. Other than the actual physical dryer is less, but for them to deliver it to us is in some cases as much as $1,500 more than some of the other bidders. And I wonder how that works with the bid laws. I mean, we're not, if we buy a dryer and then we have to pay to get it here, I don't know that buying the lowest price dryer is the right way to do it when the freight or the delivery fee imposed by the people selling us the dryer for the cheaper cost is way more money than the other bids that we've got. How does that work?
Any other comment?
Yeah,
Let me ask this, Councilman Schramm, before I take the floor away from you, the floor is still yours.
That's my question. I mean, when I looked at, for instance, there's one company, not to be named, that has a $510 delivery fee on a $5,650 machine. As to compare that to the $4,532 machine with a $1,971 delivery fee. We're not, I don't think we're comparing apples to apples there. Another bidder bid $5,523.38 and has a $600 delivery fee, which makes that overall cost less than the low bid of the dryer only from that other company. So I don't know how we can actually vote on that, not knowing who actually has the lesser price equipment.
Councilman Clay, you had a.
I didn't make the motion, but I have a question, but, in front of me. So, when this was on our previous council meeting, it was in the estimate, the shipping that Councilman Schramm refers to. This packet in the estimate didn't have shipping. I thought it wasn't included in the bid. They had wiped it out because it wasn't part of it. It was before, and I was to think, oh, they eliminated that part of it. Which is it? I don't know.
We'll find out. First of all, I'm going to ask for a point of information from the city attorney on the bid laws in respect to when you bid out an item in regards to delivery fees and
If you're
installation.
going to include the consideration of delivery fees, it should have been spec'd with that as one of the specs you're looking at. It just depends on how it's spec'd out. Each retailer on their own, and I'm saying could, make their own decision as far as supplying information about delivery fees, setup charges, things like that. Only if it was asked and spec'd would that be part of the consideration based upon all of the persons giving a quote being provided the same information for the spec. Now, I don't know if I'm answering your question, but that's really where it starts out.
So one of the things, and I thought long and hard about this when you brought this up in committee. We have certain processes that we are guided by. We have bid laws for the state of South Dakota, which we obviously would spell all of that into there. And then City of Winter, the supervisors and the appointed officials, for anything less than $4,000, they can just go ahead and purchase that with a purchase order. We've set an administrative policy that the $4,000 in this, anything over $4,000 up to the bid laws in the city of Winter, we should have a minimum of 3 quotes. And then the other thing that we've set out to do is make sure everybody that's a business in the city of Winter, every single one that's in that industry that wants to bid be included, even if that means getting 5 quotes, because we have 4, and then they got 1 from out of town. I took that into consideration, and I asked Public Safety Commissioner Justin Day to go back and get quotes, and he's got quotes with those delivery charges, I believe, from every one of those people.
And I think they are all in the packets.
They are all in the packets, okay. My packet did not have that in there, so. And when it came back to comparing apples to apples, we were still missing the installation, such as the wiring, and that was included in the original bid, which made it still the cheapest to go. My concern here is this department has done everything that we've asked of them from an administrative policy. I'm thankful that this wasn't an emergency, and we were holding up the purchase of a dryer if we had, I think today was 56 inmates that needed laundry and clothes washed, but it's part of the authority that's granted to them as they are hired as administrative officers or appointed as appointed officials. I think as I look at this, and there may be other questions, I think everything was met correctly from, it wasn't a bid law. It wasn't less than 4,000. They actually had to go out and get the 3 quotes. And did we get 4?
Yeah, we actually went out for a couple more,
5.
but 1 did not respond.
Oh, that's right. And I leave it to you as council on how you're going to vote on this. It's not a bid law, so I mean, you don't have to include as a packet the delivery, the installation. They went out and got the equipment and got quotes on the equipment. And that was from the budgeted line item at $4,500. This was gonna come in over, I think, by $32. And then they were going to, after visiting with these departments, use repair and maintenance to cover the cost of the delivery and the wiring or installation of the dryer and removal from the other. I think everything's been handled correctly, but I think when you compare all of those on the most recent packets, not only did they do their job, but I think they got the lowest priced item, in my opinion, once you consider the wiring and the installation and removal. Point of information.
Yes. Okay, so the 2 main quotes that we were focusing in on here, Brad, I would like to call your attention to the one where the dryer, just so everybody kind of understands our thought process here. We really did try to do this the correct way with following all the policies, because the dryer is going to come out of 1 GL code, which is what we budgeted for equipment. And then the installation is going to have to be added in on top of that, no matter which dryer we went with. The first quote that you got, the actual freight for that 4,400 dryer is $450. That's the actual freight on it. Then the trip and labor for 2 guys, that's where the $1,450 comes in. What we did find out that included was for them to hook up the dryer with the wiring, hook up it says no venting materials included, but they do hook up the venting to that dryer as well, and then take our other one away. The other quote that we received was for $5,523. That did include $400 of shipping, and then install, delivery, and removal of $200. But the part that we have to be aware of is customer must make other arrangements to have electrical, plumbing, and venting hooked to equipment. So that's why we went apples to apples as far as what does the dryer cost. When we started looking at everything, that the one we have before you today, the total price was $63.40 when we include them to hook up the dryer, what they included with it. When we look at the other quote, it was in at $6,123.30. That does not include finding an electrician to come in and hook that dryer up in our facility. Because I did ask Micah today, because I wanted to be as educated as I could on this, it's not just plugging it in. So that's not a thing to where they unplug one and plug in another. So there is we have to then, depending on what you guys choose, because ultimately you guys make this decision, but depending on what you choose, then we will have to go out and get quotes from every electrician in town to see what it's going to cost. The difference between the $63.40 and the $6123.20, if our cost comes in at $217, then we did not go with the most financially beneficial to the city of Winter. Now, I know it was asked, why can't our electrician hook it up? And it was kind of explained in committee. I do not get to set the electrician's schedule. It has happened in the past with everything that the city is trying to do. Ray does not have time when he is trying to get all the electric meters installed, get what else? I mean, he is doing all kinds of things. So to find that time, I can't guarantee that he will be able to do so in a timely manner. So there is still some variables up on this, but I hope you know we were trying to do what was most fiduciarily responsible for the city of Winter, because we do realize we are using tax dollars to pay for this. So that was our whole entire line of thinking here. Ultimately, the decision will be up to you guys.
Any other comments or questions, council?
These people, in my view, they done the proper vetting for this. You know, we got the lowest quote here, there's other add-ons. Every one of these 5 in front of me has got add-ons and everything. You know, when you compare everything, when you're looking at everything, it looks like our people did the best for the city of Winter to get this dryer installed and get that thing up and going. And I support this motion. I made the motion and I support it, and I think you're doing the best by the city of Winter. We could quibble over a little of this, a little of that, but that's not, in my view, it's.
Mr. Mayor, I might,
Mr. Jensen, point
if
of
I may just
information.
make a comment from a legal perspective as far as how that goes. Compliance with the policy is what you start looking for from the standpoint of making sure you're judging how your departments are performing based upon what they're supposed to be doing. There are certainly going to be times when people will comply with policy that somebody else might be able to go out and find another bid that's going to be a little bit different. If your people are truly following the policy, they're going to do the best job for the city. We can't guarantee they'll be 100% every time, but I'm not sure that the city's got time to do that, depending on how many potential players you would have.
And you will see that we did get, well, the 4 quotes that we have, all 4 are South Dakota companies. And then we went
Local.
and just looked online too, but this is where we found the best deal on the machine that we also currently have that we know has lasted the last 10, almost 11 years.
Yep.
Before we call the question, any other comments? The floor is open if you guys have questions or comments.
Well, my sheet has 5 bids. I don't know where you're getting the 4 from. I got 5 bids.
Yeah, I just got the
Okay.
4 South Dakota ones.
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't know where they're from, and it doesn't make any difference to me. What I'm concerned about is we pick an item and only bid part of its cost. And that way, we're gonna pick the lowest cost one, which isn't the lowest price total. And that's where I'm concerned, is what happens, when we do this again.
My suggestion would be, council, that if that's a concern that you have, and it's obviously a legitimate concern, my question is, would it not make more sense to go back, not for this one, to go ahead and proceed and get this one taken care of? But does this suggest that maybe we should be tweaking our policy so that the policy ensures that they're providing council with the information that you want them to be able to get? So if policy says, for instance, if you're going to be including installation, et cetera, it needs to be bid accordingly. I'm just saying that by tweaking the policy, maybe we can avoid confusion and the differences that we're seeing here.
And with that also, that was the entire plan, because we knew that the installation, as I said, was gonna have to be on top for whichever unit that we picked. And that fits well within our budget, which was under the $4,000 bid law for anything such as that. And that comes out of a different GL line, which is repairs and maintenance. So that's why we went back to on the equipment line, which was dedicated of the $4,500. That's why we picked the lowest price when it came to the equipment.
Councilman Hockett.
To speak to Brad's concern, couldn't we handle all this by just tightening up our specifications at the time of bid? If we want to include installation, shipping charges, everything else, would not that be beneficial to spec that out, put that right in the specifications, so that everybody out there, everybody bidding on this would, that's the bid. If you give us a bid, we want a dryer replaced, we need it in a spot that we have one now, then we write specs for that, like you said earlier. We just tweak the specifications, I think would handle all of Brad's concerns.
What's really I think we can, but what's really interesting to me is in this situation, the only reason it's in front of council, because it's less than a bid law, is because it's a purchase agreement, because they want payment up front. Had it been a company who accepted payment at the time of delivery, according to South Dakota Code of Law, it's less than the bid law, but it's more than the 4,000. They still have, as long as they have the 3 quotes, that supervisor can go ahead and order that. I believe, is it still the cheapest bid? But when we're done with delivery, wiring, comparing all 4 together?
I would have to go out and see what an electrician is gonna charge. We have $216 separating the 2 right now. And if an electrician comes in, like I said, at $217, then
Okay.
that's kind of where we came to, because one includes them hooking it up, the other one says you have to go find your own electrician.
I think we've done our due diligence, council. Other comments, questions? I'll let you cast your vote. We'll call the question. The question is to approve the agreement with Mid-Dakota Equipment for the purchase of a dryer in the amount of $4,532 in full payment in advance, and have the mayor sign all the documentation. Councilman Sprinkle.
Yes.
Councilman Schuyler.
Aye.
Councilman Clay.
Yes.
Councilman Schramm?
Aye.
Councilman Hockett?
Aye.
Ayes have it, and this motion carries. This concludes old business. We will move on to new business. Tonight, one of those items has been resolved of the 7, leaving 6 remaining. Item number 1, there was no bid, so we do not need a motion on item number 1. We'll move on to item number 2. In your new business packet, council, do you have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I'd make a motion to award the 2024 mill and overlay project bid to Bituminous Paving Incorporated in the amount of $2.25 per square yard milling, $158 a ton of asphalt installed.
Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Councilman Clay with the motion, Councilman Hockett with the second. Floor is open to comments, questions, or point of information.
How much did we get budgeted?
600,000.
600?
Yeah.
Troy, how do these prices, these bids compared to last year?
Last year, milling was at $2 a square yard, and the tonnage was 168, so it's actually $10 cheaper than it was last year.
Oil prices went down. Any other comment or question, council? Hearing none, chair will call the question by a roll call vote. The question being awarding the 2024 mill and overlay project to Bituminous Paving Incorporated in the amount of $2.25 a square yard milled and $158 a ton of asphalt installed. Councilman Schuyler.
Aye.
Councilman Clay.
Yes.
Councilman Schramm.
Aye.
Councilman Hockett.
Aye.
And Councilman Sprinkle.
Aye.
Ayes have it, and this motion carries. Item number 3, council, do you have a motion?
I would make a motion to award the 2024 curb and gutter project to Daryl Bachman Construction.
Is there a second
I'll
to this
second that.
motion? Councilman Hockett with the motion, Councilman Sprinkle with the second. Floor is open to comments or questions or point of information.
Mr. Mayor, does your motion include the individual 3 items that they quoted us? As in the
think it should.
36-inch type B,
Yeah.
6-foot
I do.
valve gutters, and
Pricing that
driveway
we had.
approaches? Okay.
Yep.
I assume so, but wanted to verify that your motion included that.
Maybe Public Works could read those off again so we don't make mistakes.
I can read that off for you, council. The bid amounts were 36-inch type B curb and gutter per linear foot at $52, 6-foot valley gutters per square yard at $110, and driveway approaches per square yard at $92.
What
Let the
was the
rec-
6-foot valley?
110.
52?
110.
Oh, right there, okay, thank you.
If the record and the official notes would reflect that, please. Any other comment or question? Hearing none, chair will call the question by a roll call vote. The question being awarding the 2024 curb and gutter project to Daryl Bachman Construction in the amounts of 36-inch type B curb and gutter per linear foot at $52, 6-foot valley gutters per square yard at $110, and driveway approaches per square yard at $92. Councilman Clay?
Yes.
Councilman Schramm?
Aye.
Councilman Hockett?
Aye.
Councilman Sprinkle?
Yes.
And Councilman Schuyler?
Aye.
Ayes have it, this motion carries. Item 4 had been resolved previously. Item number 5, council, Do you have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I'd make a motion to enter into a contract with Department of Health for rental of Suite 117, beginning March 1st, 2024.
Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second that.
Councilman Clay with the motion, Councilman Schuyler with the second. Floor is open to comment, questions, or point of information.
Mr. Mayor and Council, there has been a couple of questions about a confusion. We'll have two contracts with Department of Health. One for, in Suite 115, and then a separate one for Suite 117. They are different departments within the Department of Health that will be renting from us, so.
So
Yes, they are state
115's
agencies.
already with us?
Yes.
Okay, that's
Yep.
what I was,
Other questions or comments, council? Hearing none. Chair will call the question by a roll call vote. The question being approving the contract with Department of Health for rental of Suite 117 beginning March 1st, 2024. Councilman Schramm,
Aye.
Councilman Hockett,
Aye.
Councilman Schuyler, or Councilman Sprinkle, I'm sorry. I got ahead of
Yeah.
myself. Councilman Schuyler. And Councilman Clay.
Yes.
The ayes have it. This motion carries. Item number 6. Council, do you have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I'd make a motion to enter into a purchase agreement with a $4,000 cancellation clause with sanitation products for a curb tender truck.
Is there a second to this motion?
Second.
Councilman Clay with the motion, Councilman Hockett with the second. Floor is open to comments, questions, or point of information. Councilman Clay, you had the motion. Councilman Hockett?
I can speak to my opinion, but we have a whole bunch of paper in front of us here
Yes, you do.
that, was the Public Works Director planning on reviewing this publicly, or?
Sure.
Point of information.
Thank you.
So actually you're looking at two trucks. One's curb tender, that's the automated arm truck, and the other one is a rear load dump truck. I provided you with, quotes for that, option A and B for the curb tender, and option C and D for the rear load. He did a 5-year, lease on that, on both trucks. I just had him throw some numbers in there just for you guys to look at. But option B and option D of those two vehicles is, option B is to put half down on the curb tender, just so you can see where the numbers fall in. I guess what's more importantly is the other handout that I gave you, which you're looking at that, at the very top, it's got 2024 and 2025. So you're looking at 2024, you're actually looking at a half of a year there. So we would have to take over the garbage service in 2025. And that's why the trucks, they're saying that if we order now, delivery would be the first quarter of 2025, which would give us those trucks by the end of the current contract, which is June 1st or May 31st. And then I broke, with Shander's help, we broke down the sanitation budget. So in 2024, we're looking at, actually those dates are wrong. They should be 2025, 2026. With a half a year's purchase, our gross expenses is $730,000, $739. We would have a profit that year of $27,254. That's with the lease that's with the full lease payment. That first year with a half 6 months, they may prorate that payment, so that would make it a little less. The second year, which would be the same expenses, but with a full year of us doing the garbage ourselves, your profit's $244,419. That's quite substantial profit. Once those trucks are paid off, that profit jumps up to $380,000 a year. This sanitation can be a enterprise department that can totally take care of itself. We have a 30-year-old building, we have a 30-year-old baler, we have 30-year-old equipment in that building, we have totes and dumpsters, and we have maintenance expenses. So I think it's important that we get the most out of that sanitation department that we can. These are the numbers to show you what it will do. Any questions?
Go over the dates one more time again, please.
Say what?
So trucks would be available when?
First quarter of 2025.
Of 2025. Contract comes up when?
June 1st of 2026. 2025. Yes.
2025.
Yep. Yeah, excuse me.
Contract renews in 20, or is it up for renewal or cancellation?
So that's the
Yeah,
whole,
June
that's the whole purpose of
25.
ordering now, is if we order now, they will guarantee us delivery by the first quarter of 2025, which we would take over the garbage service June 1st of 2025. If we don't order now or soon, they will not guarantee us that first quarter delivery. So, no trucks, then you'd be forced to go into another contract.
Councilman Trim, you wanted the floor?
I just wanted to know if we knew what our bid would be for garbage hauling without us doing it after June 1 of 2025. Would we not be in a better position of knowing what to do if we knew that that price was gonna be $10 a house more, or?
I don't know about the current contractor. I know that, talking to Heartland Waste before, and that was kind of the driving force behind buying the recycle and the transfer station, and as we knew that if they were to rebid that contract, it was gonna go up $5 per account. I do know this about River Bottom Sanitation. The first set of numbers that he gave us, Chandra actually went through those and made corrections on there. He was about $6,000 a month short of what he thought he was going to make for profit. I don't have a crystal ball, and I can't tell you. I do know one thing that Adam has reiterated to me is that he probably would not be interested in another 2-year contract. If he was going to do it again and we were to bid it out, it would have to be a 5-year contract. And that's,
And is there a problem if we do that? Bid out a
Problem.
5-year contract? and
You're
see what
looking
we
at me,
get?
so what type of a problem are you asking about?
I'm asking if we let bids out for a particular process or service, and then choose not to accept any bids, are we in legal trouble?
Well, it depends on whether we've left ourselves with no choice at all.
No, I understand that.
But from the standpoint of when you advertise for bids, you always leave yourself the out to legally be able to reject any and all.
Right, because my concern is, and I don't know if this is the place to say that or not, but I just as well, if we bid it out for 5 years and the bid comes in, the same or hardly any more money to our consumers over the 5-year course of the new contract, then should we take the risk of spending $500,000 for trucks when we might not even need them? If we had a favorable bid that we don't even know what it's gonna be, but we could know if we let it out for bids.
You may at that point in time, as you're sitting here today, you don't know.
With things that we know today.
In what you do know today, based upon what Troy has told us, based on what you and Chandra put their heads together to come up with numbers, is that if we don't, if the city renews with your current contractor or goes out for bids with another contractor, you're going to be raising rates. It's going to happen. If, on the other hand, if the city pursues its own equipment and handles it, the program itself as an enterprise, the projection is that by 2026, you're looking at about a $260 a year net profit. 260,000.
And we don't know what our other costs will be if we were to get a nice bid for the future.
We don't,
We don't know that at all.
Correct.
Without putting it out for bids.
correct.
And does it take 30 days to put something out for bids and get bids back?
Well, it takes more than that.
One of the things,
Mr.
one of the things that I would point out and recommend, this agreement does have a cancellation clause for $4,000.
Yep.
So if that's taking possession at the end of the first quarter, I think you need to make sure we've received every bid that we have that same time. That way, you have the option, you're not backed in. It would cost us,
I'm talking about getting a bid for 2025 in 30 days from now.
You can't.
Okay, that's what I asked before.
Okay, we can't put out a bid for something that we're not in a position to accept a bid on. We have a current contract that's in place until the middle of 25.
But
Which
Mr.
expires
Jensen.
June 1 of 2025.
Let me try and
Councilman
clarify.
Clay, go ahead.
What Councilman Schramm's trying to ask, and I don't know either, but we've had a conversation, of course.
Sure.
Can we let a bid now? Not for today, not for tomorrow, but for 1 year from now, June 1st of 2025. What's the parameters on that? That's what he's trying to ask.
Timeline boundaries.
Pardon me?
You're asking for a timeline.
Yeah, how far out can you bid it? Now?
I'd have to look, number one, I wanna refresh my memory, maybe Chandra can help me with this. I don't recall whether our current contractor is given some sort of a preferential opportunity as part of a potential renewal. I think it does. And he's not in a position to start even knowing that until we're getting within a time frame that's close enough for him to be able to make that decision.
A January or February bid letting, I think would be close enough.
I want to say the contract says 90 days notification of either a renewal or potential changes at that point in time. So I think you've got a 90-day time.
90 days sounds right. Yeah, I just didn't want to be on my own with that one.
So then my next question would be, if we can't bid it now to begin a contract in June of 2025, what's the chances of selling these two trucks to anybody else after we buy them?
Well, that's not a legal question.
I understand it. I'm just asking that.
This agreement-
Maybe that should be known.
This agreement, you can cancel the purchase of this,
Yep.
and it would cost $4,000.
Up until prior date of delivery, like the day before.
Troy, what are the possible delivery deadlines?
First quarter.
Is there any way to get one closer to May?
The rear load is actually not that far
Accessible.
out. The rear load is actually more available. It's the curb tenders, the one that's in question about being able to make that first quarter delivery date. Something to, you guys, you need to figure, I understand you need to figure out, just want to point this out. Like, this year, we're going to barely break even. It's going to be close. Next year, it's going to be close. If we go with the current contract, it's going to be close again. It's inevitable that you're eventually going to fall behind, even if you get the same contract price that you have today, because our expenses are going up all the time. So you're going to fall behind eventually. Or you're going to have to raise garbage rates. That's your other option.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilman Clay?
I was trying to just be courteous to Councilman Schramm. I got a lot of things I want to say, but I just wanted to be sure that everybody understood the question as I understood what he was trying to ask.
Very good.
Okay?
Floor is yours.
So, as the Public Works Director was saying, you know, things go up. And we're on a break-even plateau right now by doing what we've done to current date without raising rates. But keep in mind, the main thing we did was we reduced the weight on our streets. Mission accomplished. And that was a gamble. You know, I wasn't on board with this all along, but the main thing was getting the weight off the streets to preserve our streets and what we're investing in our streets. Now, I look at, let's make it an enterprise. Let's make some money on it. Understand it's an investment, Councilman Schramm. It's an investment in this, but I think we have an opportunity to make some money. People I hear around town, and I talk to constituents like we all do, about when the city was in garbage before, it didn't work. We had problems, whatever. Well,
Our overhead was huge then. We had probably close to 10 full-time employees.
and they'll have new trucks. The arm tipper, as we've seen around town, works well. It really does. I am on board with moving forward with making this an enterprise and collecting some money without raising rates. We project to make money, substantial money. I probably forgot 10 things I wanted to say, but that's.
There's a
my-
second round. We'll give everybody time for a second time through. Councilman Hockett.
In my mind, I'm clear, we have been making moves towards this direction for the last 2 years, Mr. Mayor. And to me, this is the final move into creating an enterprise which would be very beneficial for the taxpayers of the city of Winter. I really feel that going forward with this is the thing to do at this point in time. And I also heard that 20 years ago, we couldn't run it, it was terrible, blah, blah. You can't compare then till now. We have, the staff we have, we can handle it. I'm comfortable with saying that we can handle it with the staff we have today. We can take this enterprise over. We can, the second year out, $244,000 profit. And I would say that that's probably, if you calculate in the savings, because Brad's scenario of what happens if at 2025 we get a 5-year bid out and it remains relatively the same, I think is what you said, Brad. That's not going to happen. That's not even logical. I mean, it's going to be, 2025 is going to, there's going to be a big jump there, and then 5 years out, I'll bet you it's going to go up by the end of that 5th year, $25 to $30 a household, But, so I think we're doing the right thing and moving forward, and I support it. That's all I want to say.
You always run the risk of not having a bidder. I mean, that is a position that we could be put in also, is we may not have anyone bid our garbage. That's a, we
And then
almost,
I'm a much easier
I
sell.
thought about that.
well, we almost had that scenario this last go-round.
Yes, we did. Yes, we
You
did.
gotta remember too, most of those guys that have that garbage business are getting older. They're getting wore out. Their equipment's wearing out. They're not gonna come back in again.
I'm going to go around. I'll come back to you, Councilman Hockett. Councilman Schuyler?
No, I agree.
You'll-
When I worked for the city in the summer, I'd go on a truck every week, every summer. And we had 5 trucks with 2 people on each truck. So we had the back, we dumped
Rear
in the
load.
back and all of them. And yeah, it was a lot more labor intensive 20, 30 years ago.
Councilman Schramm, I'm going to come back around the floor one last time. Floor is yours to start.
Yeah, as I said earlier, my only concern is that I would like to be told that a bid is gonna cost us in year 1 of 5, $23 a household, and it will go up 7% every year. We had a contract like that prior where the bid getter had the right to come to us and say, here's my expenses, could you please let me charge a little more money per household? And we could say yes or no, okay? That's the kind of contract I'm wishing we could see before we make the decision to spend $500,000 on 2 trucks. And I'm not at all against the city of Winter making money in the garbage industry, but I'm not sure that we will. We were told we were gonna make money with the stuff that we bought from the county, and then we ended up spending, in the first 3 months of operation, we ended up buying a $100,000 mini excavator, because we didn't think about that when we entered into this endeavor. And that's what I'm concerned about. What are we gonna end up having as costs compared to if we don't do anything with it and we take it back to the operation that we had previous to what we do now and let the garbage pickup service haul it to Puckwatta? We don't have any cost at all except to operate a rubble site that we get paid $5 a household and maybe $5 a business per month to staff that. And I don't know what that cost is gonna be because we haven't taken the bids. And that's all I'm asking, that we put out for bids a contract for garbage service that would begin June 1, 2025. If we can't legally do it, fine. Then I understand that, but I still want the question out. I still want to know the answer before we go spend this kind of money on trucks. Otherwise, I'm not all out on garbage service, but.
Yeah, if my calendar brain is working, I think March 1 would be the soonest we could put that bid out in 25.
2025.
Correct.
And
March
we would
1
know
of
that.
But that does us no
We
good
have to have
for
20 days,
the
right,
safety net of
90
having
days.
trucks,
to put a bid out.
unless we have a
No,
place
from
to
the
sell.
time we put it out
Oh,
to the bid opening, 20 days.
bid opening, we need 2 weeks of bidding and then you can have your openings. So it's 20 days, yeah.
So you would have that information. Listening to Mr. Jensen, and he will follow up, I promise. 90 days out would be the March 1st bid letting. 2 weeks of advertising.
Bid opening, I'm sorry.
The bid opening would be
That's a
March
20.
1st. You could actually put it out in February.
Put it
with a
out in
bid opening.
February, yep.
So this agreement has a cancellation clause in it. And you guys can take a look at that information. Even if you approve this tonight, you would have your bids to compare, and you can put out a 5-year bid if you want, and then compare at that time.
And we just have a little $4,000 cancellation fee.
Right.
I was just, in my selfish way, trying to eliminate that $4,000 cost.
One more
Troy.
point of information is, when we started this project, we applied for a grant through the state of South Dakota to reimburse us for some of those costs that we have out there in the purchase of the transfer recycle center. We did not receive any of those grants, but we have reapplied for those grants, and we will find out in the end of March if we're going to get any reimbursements. So those reimbursements would be on top of the numbers you're seeing right here.
Mr. Mayor, if I could make a financial statement on this, because first of all, I will not guarantee any of these numbers 100%, because there's always things that happen. Your fuel could be at more than 3.85, or it could be less. So what you have in front of you is the 2024 budget of what we actually budgeted for 2024, and then I did work with Troy on the 2025 numbers. That is adding 1 extra full-time and 1 extra part-time to the current budget. And then 6 months or 6 payments worth to hauling it up to Puckwatta and your contract payment. So that's where those numbers came from. Remember that $730,739 worth of revenue that is listed there, you are not breaking even this year. You are spending cash to make your budget balance, $40,000 worth of cash. You are not breaking even this year with the current numbers that you have. You are spending cash. So next year, I mean, if you continue to go with that, you will
Spend more
fall
cash.
behind in a very, very quick within a year. By 2026, you will have 0 cash.
Without raising the rates.
And yes, there's grants out there, totally understand that, approve that, but our argument to the grant people was that we had to borrow it from other funds. That's why we needed that money back. Therefore, there's a high possibility they will say we have to pay those funds back because that was our argument to them. So that may not be cash in the sanitation fund.
Councilman Clay?
I hear a lot of things, and then I kind of lose my track, my thought. First of all, Public Works Director and the Finance Officer, I need your joint recommendation, or separate recommendations, however it may play out. I've got an option A, an option B, an option C, and an option D. It's a lot of options here.
The option A and option C are 5-year leases with the 5-year payment. Option B is paying half down and a 4-year lease. Option D is a 4-year lease on 2 different trucks.
Yep, got you there. So, what's your budget support? What do you feel? What direction are you going?
You have no cash to put money down. That's what I'll tell you. Unless you steal it from another fund, but you've got projects going on those funds.
Yeah, that's,
You would have to just do the 5-year lease,
That's your recommendation?
100%.
Troy? 5-year? You're,
pardon?
he has no recommendation. He's deferring. Mine is the 5-year lease. If you guys, I would truly recommend that.
What does this do, the 5-year lease? Which one of my projected revenue numbers is the 5-year lease?
70,000 a year.
The what?
The 70,000 a year, or it's 121,000 for both vehicles.
A and C,
Pardon me?
option A and C.
Right. Oh,
Are you looking on the revenue side?
The expense.
I used the highest number.
Expenses with the
Yep. So that's what's factored into those numbers is the 5-year leases at 121,000.
At the 121,000?
Yep, 121, 125.
Yeah.
That is
Oh,
the
here,
5
the
years.
lease 2 trucks.
Yep.
121, 125.
That is correct.
Projected profit, 5 years.
No, that's the cost. This is
Cost.
expenses.
What I want to know, let me be clear here. Because it's got to change. The expected projected profit changes if you do a 4-year lease or a 5-year lease.
It's at the bottom of the page.
That's what I'm wanting to know.
Year
Which
one
number?
is $27,254 because you will have 6 months of payments to the current contract.
That is
Year-
this
year-
is my 5-year lease numbers right here.
Yes.
That's what my question
Year
was trying to.
2 is $244,419 profit.
Expected profit on a 5-year lease, that's what these numbers
That's
are here.
the year. That's the year.
So,
$1,027,000.
That's if we
Councilman,
don't take a rate increase.
right, if we take a
That's the
raise.
same revenue for
That's
the
correct.
first 2
Yeah,
years.
and if we don't lose, there's a lot of things, projections here. We don't lose any customers, we don't gain any more customers, it's just at the status quo where we're at right now.
Hey,
If
Jeremy,
we,
I hope we gain because I hope winter's growing.
so do I, but I'm just saying, I'm putting it all out there, we're looking at the revenue of this year without taking a rate increase. If we took a rate increase, the income would be increased. We're looking at no changes, no level at what we know. So, buying both trucks, it would be approximately leasing, is there a buyout on the backside of this lease? $1, thank you. After 5 years, we buy them up for $1, it's $551,000. So in, not counting the first half a year, but after 2 years, we have the trucks paid for if we took all the revenue from that. Logically, in my mind, we pay for them in 2 years. Am I done rambling enough for y'all? Everybody following where I'm at? That's what I'm wanting to know. You want me to ramble a little bit more? That's how I think, I talk, sorry.
That's all
Okay.
right.
I'm good.
Councilman Hockett, the floor is yours.
In conclusion, I guess, conclusionary statement, when we went into this early on, you made a profound statement that resonated with me. You said that if we go through with this, we control our destiny.
Right.
As a city planner and a decision maker, that's very meaningful to me. If we can control our destiny, all of Brad's into the future 5, 6, 7, 8 years, we control that. That's what I like, and that's what resonates with me. So that's all I gotta say.
Councilman Sprinkle.
We're in it so deep now.
What did he say?
We're in it so deep right now. Just so everybody heard.
My feet are up.
Councilman
Well,
Schuyler,
you
final.
Take a vote.
Okay. Chair will call the question, which is to approve a purchase agreement with a $4,000 cancellation clause with sanitation products for a curb tender truck.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to amend my motion.
Please.
I'd like to amend my motion to enter into a purchase agreement with a $4,000 cancellation clause with sanitation products for curb tender truck, option A,
Okay.
and also
A rear load.
a rear loading truck, option D, as presented on my paper.
Is there a second to the motion?
You want C.
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 You want
You want
C, not
C.
D.
Is that it?
Yep, C.
4,000 per truck cancellation?
No, just on the curb tender.
Yep, C. I stand corrected.
And have the mayor sign all documentation.
And have the mayor sign all documentations, whatever. It's not.
Is there a second?
I've got the second.
Okay, Councilman Clay
That's fine.
with the motion, Councilman Hockett with the second. Chair will call the question, which is to enter into a purchase agreement with a $4,000 cancellation clause with sanitation products for a curb tender truck, option A, and a rear load truck, option C, and have the mayor sign all documents.
Question, Mr. Mayor, excuse me. Our stated motion is purchase, but it's a lease contract. The verbiage,
It's a purchase agreement.
Yeah, you'll have to redo the lease agreement when it comes due, because that's when the interest and everything.
okay, I don't like that verbiage there because it reads purchase, but it's not a purchase, it's a lease.
Purchase agreement will provide for the lease.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, not a problem.
So Chair will call the question with the roll call vote. Councilman Hockett,
Aye.
Councilman Sprinkle,
Yes.
Councilman Schuyler,
Aye.
Councilman Clay,
Yes.
Councilman Schramm.
No.
The ayes have it, and this motion carries. That concludes new business. Oh, wait, no, it does not conclude. We got to pay the claims for the city of Winter. Council, item number 7, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to pay the claims, including the Boy Scout donation of 1,500 and of the dryer for 4,532.
Is there a second to the
I'll
motion?
second that.
Councilman Schuyler with the motion, Councilman Sprinkle with the second. Floor is open to comments or questions. I'll give you time to review, or are you good? We're good, it looks like. Chair will call the question, which is to pay the claims for the city of Winter with the included $1,500 donation to the Winter Boy Scouts and $4,532 payment to Mid Dakota Equipment. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it, and this motion carries. That does conclude new business. City of Winter does have one executive session for this evening, so we're going to go ahead and kill the live stream. The actionable item will be in the minutes in the Winter Advocate and our city council meeting agenda, meeting notes on March 4th.